It's been a really good first half for the Chicago Cubs. We give out grades next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Sam Olber, and I'm a lifelong fan taking my passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and give us a comment below. We are going to talk All-Star game later on. I'm actually recording this part of the show before the All-Star game. So if anything crazy happened, we'll be talking about that later on. But a lot of this show is going to be a fun little exercise to grade the Chicago Cubs players for their first half. We've done a lot of this when I've been solo. We've done 9 and 9, which is basically what this is going to be. We talked about expectations before the year for guys. We then talked about like a progress report that we did right around, I want to say, late May, early June. And now we're going to hand out our first batch of grades for the season. And then obviously we'll do this again at the end of the year. Now, before I get into grading these guys, I want to talk about a couple things because I know this is going to upset a lot of people if they don't get the grade that you think they deserve. I'm grading this a lot off expectations going into the year. So take a guy like Kyle Tucker. You had to give up Cam Smith for him. You essentially had to give up Cody Bellinger for him. You had to give up a lot for him, and hopefully you're going to pay him a lot of money. We'll be talking about that at some point this week. So his grade is going to be different than PCA's because he's expected to be this, right? That's part of it. Expectations go into the grade. Keep that in mind as we go around the diamond, and then later on grade the pitchers here. I'll spend a little bit on each guy, and let's just get right into it. The first grade of the year, we're just going to go around the diamond, is for third base. Let's get that out of the way early. Matt and I talked about this on yesterday's show. I'm going to go D-. I'm not going to go with the F, only because Matt Shaw has been so helpful defensively, and it has been an upgrade from what the Cubs got from Morel and Paredes last year. But it can't be any higher than a D-. When you have a player, or really three players, Shaw, Bruhan, and Birdie, that are combined OPSing under 600 at a position, you can't go any higher than a D-. It's obviously the worst grade of any position that the Cubs have had. There's not much more we could say about it. We talked about it a lot, and it's frustrating. There's no question about it. It's frustrating, but hopefully the Cubs decide to upgrade at that position, because I think it'll be very key down the stretch. We've already talked about that. We're going to go D- over at third base, and I think that's a fair grade. If anything, it's kind. Over to shortstop. I would say probably the hardest grade for me, because when you look at Dansby's overall numbers, mid-sevens OPS, Gold Glove caliber defense at short, he's on pace to hit home runs in the high 20s, mid to high 20s. That is everything that I've asked Dansby to do. If you go back and you look at the original 9 and 9 that we did before the season started, I said mid-sevens OPS, slug, and play Gold Glove defense. He's done all of those things. However, he has struggled mightily, although better this recent road trip, with runners in scoring position. But, I put into his grade, when I thought about it, that, it's not really his fault that he continues to hit fifth. That his runners in scoring position struggles, to me at this point, are more affecting Council's grade than Dansby's grade. So I'm going to go with a B- for Dansby. I'm going to go B-. I was hovering C+, B-, but I think B- is the right score. Dansby is never going to be a guy that, is the best hitter on your team, or your team's just not going to be very good. But he's a guy that plays Gold Glove caliber defense. His job is to hit 20-plus home runs, have some hot streaks to carry the team offensively. He's done all those things so far. So I thought B- in the end was pretty fair. Nico, I think, has been a solid B. I think Nico Hoerner's been a solid B. If I had to, nitpick, it's not the slug. And I'm going to talk about this with Pete. I don't want guys doing things that they're not good at. So Nico Hoerner's not a slugger. So I'm not going to penalize him for not slugging. In fact, my penalty towards him would be sometimes when he tries to hit home runs because it's not his game. The reason why it's not an A- for Nico or an A is I think if you're not going to slug, I need you to be hitting in the high 290s, low 300s. Right now he's sitting in the low 280s or so. So if he finishes the year 297, 298, then you could best believe that Nico Hoerner's going to have an A season or an A- season for this Cubs team because he's been brilliant defensively as always. But I don't care that he doesn't slug. That's not a part of his game. Counsell talks about that all the time. Do what you do well. Don't try and do things that you don't do well. I don't want Nico Hoerner trying to hit home runs. I just want you to be better at what you're already very good at, which is hitting for average, hitting with runners in scoring position, which he's been amazing at. Let's see if we can finish the year in the mid to high 290s for Nico, and that grade could come up. There's room to grow there. Michael Busch, first base, about as easy of a grade as I've had. Flat A. I don't know what else you could say. I'm not trying to rhyme. He's been great all day. Okay, that's it. It's enough. Highest OPS on the team. He's not been their best hitter, despite what a lot of people say because of the OPS, because he doesn't play that much versus lefties and struggles versus them. But he has been, in my opinion, their best hitter when you consider like the expectations. I mean, this has been to have an OPS here healthily over 900 as we sit here at the All-Star game is amazing. It's amazing. He is been so much more than what I could have imagined. I went back, I watched my 9-9 originally. I said, man, if Michael Busch is playing Gold Glove caliber defense at first with a high 7, low 8 OPS, we'll take that all day. Well, he's doing that, and he has an OPS close to 950. Flat A, say no more about Michael Busch. Going over to the catcher position, you got Kelly getting the bulk of it. Amaya and McGuire, flat A. What more can you say? Stop. Carson Kelly started out the year, was probably the biggest surprise on the team. And then he cooled off for a while. And then he got really hot again. And Amaya was really good when he was playing. And I think Reese McGuire's been really good while he's playing. I mean, like I said, we're at the All-Star game. Carson Kelly has a high 8 OPS. He's hit with runners in scoring position when he's needed to. Miguel Amaya had a bunch of clutch hits before he went down. And like I said, Reese McGuire has been no slouch himself. And they've also done a really nice job controlling the running game. It hasn't stuck out. It hasn't been something that's a really big issue. So, another A, easy grade. Left field, we're going to go with a D+ for Ian Happ. I think it has to be in the D range. This is somebody right now that every year with Ian, you expect him to be in the mid 7s at least with the OPS and, having his good stretches. And right now, and I think he's going to get there. I really do. I do believe that Ian Happ is going to have a really strong second half. But if you're just grading the first half, it just hasn't been good. And, it's basically gone slow start, really hot, oblique injury, really cold, really hot, really cold, like really cold, and now break. So if we keep on this pattern, he's due to get really hot soon. I think he will. But when you have your left fielder, in the low 7s OPS wise, 220s in the batting average, not been slugging, all that stuff, you have to give him that grade. So that pretty much sums it up. Coming up next, we're going to grade some of the bigger names in the positions. We got center field, we got right field, we got DH, and we're also going to jump in to pitchers, and we do all that after this. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast, like PCA. Maybe steal some base tonight. in the All-Star game from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now, it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. We are back here on Locked On Cubs going through first half grades. If you're just tuning in for some reason, third base D-, shortstop B-, second base B, first base A, catcher A, left field D+ with Ian Happ. Going over to center field, obvious flat A. I don't even really have to get into this that much. All I'll say about Pete is this. I'm starting to hear more and more, hey, he needs to get on base more. Hey, he needs to take more pitches to go to the next level. Yes, you're right. But just let Pete be Pete for now because he's not at that level yet. He's just not. So what you're going to do is, Theo Epstein talks about this all the time. Progress sometimes isn't linear, okay? So for him to start taking more pitches, he's probably going to have to take a step back production-wise, and he's going to miss some pitches that he normally would hit. And right now, we're in a pennant race, trying to win a division title, trying to win in October. So right now, I ask, just let's let Pete be Pete. And if that's a low threes OBP with the production he's given, that's completely fine because it's been A-level production. Going over to Kyle Tucker, I'm going to go A- for King Tuck, which will probably raise a few eyebrows, and I'll tell you why I'm doing it. He has 17 home runs. In the month of July, his OPS is in the mid-fives, and a superstar player like him should not have a month like that. But he's been everything you could ask for with the quality of ABs, his professionalism. I think he's made everybody in this lineup better, and it's still probably the biggest reason why the Cubs are where they are. I still think he's probably their best overall player as well, but I couldn't go flat A because we're at the All-Star game. He wants a $500 million contract, and I don't blame him, but he needs to get to 30-plus home runs, and he needs to start salvaging this month of July. I think both things could be true. Kyle Tucker's been great. Glad to have him. Absolutely has met every expectation that I've had. But this month of July, he hasn't looked right. He's not hitting the ball that hard. He's not slugging literally at all. And so I think his early in the year was an A+, down to a flat A. Now we're in A- range. But I would expect Kyle Tucker to get going as the season goes, and maybe he'll start the second half really hot against Boston. Moving on to DH with Seiya Suzuki. Got to go A. Guy's got 77 RBIs, on pace for the best RBI season for a Cub since Sammy Sosa. He's completely changed his approach, which I have so much respect for. He's been more aggressive. He's trying to drive in runs. He's trying to drive the ball. He hasn't been passive. When he's filled in the outfield, I've seen a lot of improvement there from him. So I've got to say for Seiya, just the home runs, the RBIs. I know that's not a big deal to people anymore. The RBIs, I think it's been huge to this team. He's had so many big hits, and he just needs to stay right where he's at. Flat A for Seiya Suzuki. Bench, not going to spend a whole lot of time on. It's been a D. The speed has been nice with Birdie and Brujan, but just not enough production from him, Justin Turner, etc. They need to upgrade that position. Let's move on to pitchers. Obviously incomplete with Steele. I'm also going to go incomplete with Shota Imanaga. I just think he hasn't pitched enough to get him a full grade yet. But if his second half is anything like Sunday, I think that grade's going to end up really good. I saved 1 A+. 1 A+, because A+ means it's like when Dave Portnoy does his pizza rating. You can't give a 10 because how do you improve from a 10? What if you have something better? It doesn't get any better than Matthew Boyd was in the first half. It just doesn't. So I'm going with an A+ for Matthew Boyd. The guy's been a savior for this rotation, a rock. He's in the Cy Young conversation, ERA of 2.34, quality starts almost every start besides for 2. It's been extraordinary to watch. And he's an A+, and there's no question about it in my mind. Going down to JMO, I'm going to give JMO a C. And this is a tough grade because he got hurt. The ERA's up in the high fours. It doesn't look great, but I just think this has been kind of what you expect from JMO. When he's really good, it always feels like it's not as good as the stats look. And when he's really bad, it always feels like it's not as bad as the stats look. It's always somewhere in the middle. And I believe, coming into the year, I said I thought we were going to get a year from JMO where he showed that he wasn't as bad as he was in 23, and he wasn't as good as he was in 24. And I think that's exactly the year that we're getting from him so far. The ERA will come down. He'll have some really good outings. And I think JMO has just been a flat C. So Colin Ray, I think, has been a very solid B for this rotation, and that might be low. That might be low. He's come in here, 3.91 ERA. The Cubs have won a good portion of his starts. He's competed most times out. He's had a couple bad starts, but I really think, considering what you would expect to get Colin Ray, he's given you everything that you could have wanted: the depth piece, the fill-in piece, the professional outing, the dependability. I think he's been a solid B starter for the Cubs. I really do, when you consider everything and put it all together. I don't think that's a stretch. And I give Colin Ray a lot of credit, and I think, moving over to Cade Horton, who I'm going to give a C+ to Cade. I think the overall numbers are fine. I think he's competed well. I've been very impressed with his demeanor on the mound, his ability to compete. He doesn't seem like he's overwhelmed with the moment. There's just something missing. He hasn't gotten a ton of whiffs. The stuff hasn't played. We've talked about it on the show. What got him drafted in the first round was that wipeout slider. But at the big leagues, the slider actually hasn't really been that effective. It's been the changeup, especially to lefties, that's generated the swing and miss. And it just, it hasn't screamed out frontline starter, but he's competed and he's helped the team. But going with Colin Ray, I think if you had to pick one of those two guys going forward who has to stay in the rotation if you make a move or somebody gets healthy or whatever, I absolutely think it's Colin Ray. And that's no disrespect to Cade Horton. It's just an example of the job that the Cubs have done, with Colin Ray. So he's been really good. Ben Brown, I'm not going to get into it. He's not on the big league club right now. That would probably be, in the D range. It hasn't been great. And then bullpen as a whole, I'm not going to grade each and every one of the bullpen arms. I think that's a little bit redundant. Porter Hodge is the only one that would probably receive a low grade. Everybody else has been really good. A guy like Flexen would be in the A range. Palencia, who we probably need to do a full segment on at some point soon, has just been absolutely outstanding. But for me, I think the bullpen as a whole has been a solid A- for the Cubs. I really do believe that. Pomerantz, excellent. Thielbar, excellent. Palencia, excellent. Keller, excellent. Flexen coming in long relief, excellent. Ryan Brazier, who started the beginning of the year, he's been excellent. The only thing that probably takes it down to an A-, which might be even a little bit harsh to say A-, is just the fact that going into the year, you felt like it was going to be Hodge and Presley at the back end, and it's not been that. But credit the Cubs for adjusting to that. And Ryan Presley, in his own right, has salvaged a very solid first half of the season, has been a contributor, just not in the way I think he and the Cubs were hoping that he was. But, I think the bullpen has been an A-. I really, really do. And then last but not least, manager. If I had to give a first half manager grade, which is so hard to do because he's managing in a pretty much the same way, I'm going to give Craig a B+. I've seen an increase in urgency. I've seen an increase, just you could just tell it's just a little bit more serious this year. I haven't had any really big problems with any of the in-game moves he's made. It's just the Dansby part of it that's made no sense to me. And that's the reason why I go B+. I don't know how Dansby could get moved down to 8 so early in the season and then stay at 5th when he couldn't hit with runners in scoring position for so long. Maybe the counterpoint is that Carson Kelly was so hot in the beginning of the season that it enabled Dansby to go down to 8. Once Kelly started to struggle, there was no one else to put there, I guess. But I think Craig's done a really nice job. And when you look around these grades, A-, if you had to grade every position, bullpen's been an A-. Position players have probably been in the low A's. Starters are probably in the C ish range, but when you lose Steele and Imanaga for the amount of time that you did, that's expected. And, manager high B, you have a season. And I think if you had to grade the Cubs season so far, it has to be in the A range. They are in first place. They're a half game out of the best record in the National League, on pace to win in the mid 90s. So, when you're having a season like this, it makes sense that there's a lot of A grades. Really, third base and Ian Happ is really the only place you could really nitpick. I mean, Ben Brown, sure, but he's in AAA now. So, all in all, it's been a fantastic season for the Cubs so far. Hopefully it continues in the second half and they can get hot again, and the grades reflect that. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the All-Star game. I have not watched it yet, but hopefully I have something really, really excited to talk about right after the ball game, and that's coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much money I was spending on carryout, food delivery, and just how much you could save by just going to pick it up, right? Just going to pick it up or cooking at home. It's been a huge difference maker for me and my finances. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. We are back here on Locked On Cubs, and I am just coming off watching truly a wild all-star game. Plenty of reaction from it. Would it be a solo show of mine if it wasn't coming off a unique game? I never get a normal game, even if it's an all-star game, and that's what happened on Tuesday night. Before I get into the game, I got to say a couple things. The Hank Aaron tribute was absolutely outstanding. Check that out if you haven't checked it out. I don't think my words will be able to do that justice, but it was really, really cool. I love what they did there. It was a great use of technology, and it was absolutely awesome. The Clayton Kershaw. I'm not going to call it I'll call it a send-off. And what's probably going to be his last All-Star game was awesome as well in the second inning. He faced two guys, retired them both. Kyle Tucker made a really good catch on one of them. He was mic'd up, had a funny mic'd up moment. I really enjoyed that because I think Clayton Kershaw is undervalued, man. I know it sounds crazy. He's the best pitcher, in my opinion, of my generation, going from let's say, when I was really in my impressionable years, let's say starting 05 to now, I think he's hands down the best pitcher. And because of his lack of playoff success, which is fair, he doesn't really get mentioned in the way I really do think he probably deserves to be mentioned. Go look at what this guy did in 2014 in his MVP season. And, he's been able to extend his prime, reinvent himself. Just think he's one of the greats, really, truly one of the greats. So it was really cool to see him get that. And it was a wild baseball game. Before we get into the Cubs part of it, it was a 6-0 lead. I mean, the NL, the big takeaway for me from this game is that the NL just has so much more talent than the American League, unanimously for the first time. Really, not only since I could remember, but I don't remember a league having this much discrepancy in talent. I know the American League came back. That's great. But the National League is it's so much deeper. I mean, you look at the bench for the NL, Carroll, Schwarber, Tatis, Alonso. I mean, these are big names that are coming off the bench. And so it was a really good game. 6-0 lead for the NL. AL came back late, tied it at 6. And then we went to this home run derby off, which I thought had a chance to be incredible because I thought we were going to get Judge, Raleigh, and somebody versus, Ohtani, Schwarber, Alonso. But then it hit me that these guys are doing interviews and change clothes and stuff when they're done. But it was still really cool. And Kyle Schwarber, to nobody's surprise, this is a guy that's hit some of the biggest home runs you'll see, stole the show. I'm recording right after the game. I'm assuming they're going to give the MVP to Schwarber. He hit hit all 3 of his swing off home runs out of the park. And it was pretty cool. I think it was a cool and a successful night for baseball. My only all-star gripe is I just wish that the starters played longer. Like 6-7 innings, or 3 ABs, and then bring in the bench guys for, give them 1 AB. And then in a situation like that, you could have, it's a one-off situation, but you like the stars to still be there, or the super stars to still be there. But really good night, really fun night for baseball. As far as the Cubbies go, 4 at-bats, 2 each from Tucker and PCA. Tucker went 0 for 2 with a ground out and a strikeout. PCA 1 for 2 with a double and a fly out. I thought on his fly out he wasn't far off from getting Shane Baz there. Baz was challenging him, and I thought Pete, he was just a little bit late. It was a really good time, I think, for the Cubs, especially for Pete. You could really tell that the MLB is behind him and trying to market him. He got an in-game mic'd up interview. There's just a buzz in the stadium. I mean, we said this for a while. He's a true superstar in terms of the personality, in terms of the buzz, in terms of all those things. And I think that was on full display on Tuesday night in Atlanta. And it was awesome to see him have that opportunity. Tucker's situation's a little bit more interesting. I'm not going to read too much into an all-star game or anything like that, but he's just such a, an interesting guy. I mean, after the game, he was interviewed. He said he's excited to go take a nap. And that it's been or not that he's excited to take a nap, but he's going to take a nap. And that it's been, like a long couple of days, but it was worth it or whatever. And it's interesting. It's just interesting. I'm really good at reading body language. I have been, I think, for a while with sports, and I have no idea what Kyle Tucker's thinking. I have no idea what his intentions are. I mean, it's the All-Star break, and Matt and I will have this conversation, I think, pretty soon. But Matt's deadline was the All-Star break. My deadline was before the All-Star break in terms of a Kyle Tucker extension. It hasn't happened yet, and you start to wonder, tick tock, is it going to happen? And I hope it does. I want it to happen, really badly. I also think Kyle Tucker needs a couple days to get away from baseball, because you can imagine, the responsibility it is not only to play at the level that he needs to play at, but also having this huge looming question, thinking about it every day. Where am I going to play? How much money am I going to get? Yeah, it's a great position to be in. We all envy it, but it's also a lot of pressure and probably takes a toll on him mentally at times. And so, just fascinated to see how he comes out in the second half. I said before the season started, if you have to pick a key, what's the key to the Cubs season? It's Kyle Tucker. And I still think in the second half, it needs to be more of the same, maybe with a little bit more pop. But it was a really cool weekend. I wish Matthew Boyd got a chance to pitch. I loved what he said before the game. I mean, he really went into detail in his interview about why he's not pitching. And he basically was like, look, I'm paraphrasing here, he's on pace to pitch a lot of innings, like more innings than he's ever pitched. And he pitched on Saturday, and the Cubs are in a pennant race. They want to play deep into October, and they're just being really careful with him. And I give him a lot of credit, because that's truly putting the team first. Because I'm sure if he really, really wanted to, he could have pitched an inning. And I think, he worked with counsel, he worked with Jed, Tommy Hottovy, whoever it was, and said, hey, look, hopefully next year I'll be back. But, we have a goal, we have a mission here, and I need to take care of myself, make sure I'm in the best physical shape down the stretch, because as of right now, I mean, he is our only, really, really reliable pitcher. So it was really cool, but the game was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, once it got to be 6-0, to be honest with you, I was like, you know what, 6-0 here pretty late. Maybe it's time for me to start recording here. I can get to sleep a little earlier. And I was like, nah, this is how it goes. They're going to make a comeback, and they did. And here we are. But it was fun. It was really fun. I'll tell you what was interesting, though. And me, I analyze this stuff probably a little too much. By the time they did the home run derby off for the tie, the crowd looked like it was like 65% empty. I wonder how many people left early and whatnot. But overall, I thought it was a really good night for baseball. Check out the Hank Aaron tribute. I think it was after the 6th or bottom of the 6th, something like that. Absolutely incredible job there by Atlanta and Major League Baseball. And I enjoyed it. And what I'm going to enjoy even more is 2 more shows. And then the most important second half of a season, probably, since you name it. It's been a while. So a lot of really cool things coming. There's no better team. There's no team with more stories and action surrounding it right now than the Cubs. Tucker extension / free agency looming, trade deadline, and trying to win this National League Central. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 30 minutes, we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Sam Olber, and this is Locked On Cubs.